Collaboration using diagramming. So this is an approach to working with diagrams as a requirements elicitation and validation approach. There are many types of diagrams now you can create directly within Modern Requirements for TFS. Whether you're doing a swim lane diagram, a context diagram, data flow diagram, a use case diagram, a fishbone diagram, and so on. So there are many different stencils supported directly within Modern Requirements. Now, diagramming is a visual way of communicating information where, well, certainly when people say a picture is worth 1,000 words, diagramming is an extremely effective approach for requirements definition. If you want to understand the big picture view, or even in a more detailed view, how things interact, diagramming can be extremely powerful communication tool. This can be used to confirm your understanding of the requirements, to find gaps, to depict complex scenarios that are difficult to communicate with words because you'd have to write a few pages of content. And most people are visual anyways, so diagramming can be extremely effective tool. In this training module, we will look at creating diagrams. We'll look at swim lane diagrams, use case diagrams, flowcharts. We'll look at the various stencils that are available. We'll define a flow. We'll look at some formatting options. And we'll also take a look at how do you identify suspect links or suspect shapes. We'll look at how to do discussion, so we can discuss online on the diagram. And then we'll look at some automation, how the Modern Requirements for TFS can auto-detect scenarios and integration stories, use cases and test cases. And we'll look at the idea of checking in versus saving. One is so that the data is interim saved. Check-in allows other people to work on the diagram as well. So let's take a look at diagramming. Here is a use case diagram that shows the interaction and the extension points to various use cases. Here is a use case that is defined, and then if you click on edit on it, then it simply transitions you to the next area where that process is defined. So you can do drill downs, that is, from one diagram into others. This is a swim lane diagram. You saw I clicked on edit, and that means now I have taken control of this diagram. Others can view it, but they cannot edit it as I'm doing right now. Now, within diagramming, you also have the options of not only working with swim lane, but all of these other diagrams. So you can do business object models, you can do scenarios, basic flow, BPMN, cause and effect, contextual diagram, cross-functional flow, data flow, UML activity, UML state, and UML use case. You also have a set of icons that you can use within your diagrams, and you can also annotate your diagrams. Now, in this diagram, you'll see that there are many work items that are linked to the diagram. So you can either link existing work items to the diagram or link new work items that you're going to create right now. Alternatively, you can link work items to shapes or create new work items from the shape. So it becomes a trampoline in order to identify the requirements based on a business process model. In the event that you want to identify gaps, then you click on this little icon, and this will highlight all the shapes where work items are linked. Therefore, everything else is a suspect. So should I have work items against these things? Perhaps I should. And if so, then I can go in, create work items against them. In the last tab here, you can have a discussion. So I could go here and I could say, I'm putting a mention here. Please look at work item number 3525 or 22. Look at this issue, and now I have added a comment with a mention of a person and a work item being referenced in it. Part of diagramming is also to do analysis. So if you go to the analysis tab, you will see that it has detected there are 3 integration stories. Although you might create work items against individual shapes or activities, but often the scenarios themselves need to be recorded as work items. So if you look at this scenario, this is where you have delayed shipment. And I'll publish this as a use case. So it goes and creates a use case based on that scenario. In fact, if I zoom in, you will see that the path has been the cause for the narrative in here. So this is the selected path. So it auto creates that narrative and inserts the image in it as well. What it also does is links all the work items that are covered by this scenario. So this becomes your integration story or scenario, and you can publish them. Similarly, instead of publishing individual scenarios, you may choose to publish a single use case. In which case you identify, you name the use case, and then you identify the scenario and give it a name, and then they are published. And so if I were to open that, you will see the use case has been published. And this is all the 3 scenarios, my basic flow, my alternate, my exception, in the description field of that work item. And similarly to the individual scenarios and test cases, this too will link all work items that are covered by that use case. And finally, based on the diagram, you can generate test cases. So the system has detected 4 different test cases. 3 of them have been published. This particular one is where you have delayed shipment test case. So I can go ahead and publish that. And this creates a test case work item with the steps in it. You got your test coverage with the requirements that are covered by the test case. And in the summary, you have the visual. So really what diagramming does is that it becomes a platform on which you can identify requirements, integration requirements or integration stories, use cases and test cases, all based on the diagram. And not to forget, you can drill down lower level diagrams rather. In here you can see I have a login activity. If I wanted to drill down on this, I'd simply go here and I would say I want to link it to another diagram. So link that shape to another diagram and then go ahead and name it here. So I could say login here. Actually, no, I want to create a new login process. So I'll give it a name. I can choose existing ones from here as well and click OK. And this literally creates a new diagram and connects it to the shape. So that if I am on that shape, I can always click on Edit and it will transition me to the login process. So let's build out a login process. So what I'll do is I will go with Start and we'll show the user login screen. We'll have the person enter username and password. And then the system will evaluate is authentication correct? If it is correct, we'll terminate. Successful end. If authentication fails, we'll give them, we'll actually do another condition, as in, is this third failed attempt? And if it is, then we'll lock the account. And we'll call this yes. No. Yes. And from here, we'll terminate the process. And in the event that this is not the third failed attempt, we'll give them a login failed message. And then we'll go back to enter username and password. So in this way, we built out a flow chart. I can add some annotations. So I want to number things, for example. Then I can add numbering, say for my happy path. I want to add use single sign-on for login. And then we'll go and up the font size, maybe change the color. Okay. If I wanted to change the color of a shape, then you'll see there's this floating properties panel. So I can always go there, change the font color, change the outline color, or the background. And all the other formatting is in there as well. So it's this floating bar that's used for detecting that. Now, as you're working on this, you may want to periodically save it. And when you're done with it, you can check it in so others can work on it. From this scenario, what we might then do is to go to the work item, the link tab. And in here, we might create work items. For example, there's a lock account here. So firstly, what I might do is I might say, against this diagram, I'm going to create a work item. And the work item I'm going to create is a user story. So as a user, I can log in so that I have access to my data. Like so, and now I've created a work item against the process. Now what I'll do is that, say, against locked account. If I have a work item already, then I can simply link that work item to it. I'll search a work item. Yeah, I do have a work item just for that. So I'll just link to it. So now I've linked a work item to this shape. Now, for the rest of the shapes, I don't want to create work items, although you can see that others don't actually have work items linked to it. But what I will do is I'll go to my Analysis tab and create some work items against it. Or go to my Use Case tab and create some. So let's create a use case here. So this is my happy path. And this is my alternate path, and so on. And then I can publish it. Similarly, I can create and publish test cases. So in so doing, you actually have the ability to create a diagram and use analysis to work on it. When again you are done with it, you simply check it in. That is diagramming. You can create diagrams. You can use a variety of different stencils. You can format your diagrams. You can use your analysis tab to auto-detect use cases, test cases, and scenarios, and also save and check it in. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.